part two. It's kind of funny because part one isn't up yet. If you look in the description, though, you'll see it was recorded on another app uh, to show pictures I just took. Well, I talked over and it cut off. I mean, it recorded sideways. So, but yeah, if you would read the description, if you would, because I put in some of the words I've been putting around in the description, and it's from the heart type of stuff. So if nothing else, a glance at the description I'd appreciate, you know. But I just wanted to kind of continue on, and so part one isn't really. I mean, I appreciate it if you look at it because I showed pictures of pictures I just took of the trees, the foliage, apple on the apple tree back there. It shows how the stuff, the vegetation, the foliage is being damaged. It's being damaged purposefully and badly, and it's not just here; it's everywhere. But I was just pointing it out, and then I talked about, of course, I ran the gamut, kind of on physical world kind of stuff, what's going on, and the kind of things happening, and I started to talk about the heart and the soul and things. So please don't get scared off or anything, but in this part two, I want to talk about I think what we're gonna see here in northern Michigan real shortly in the next few days. These chemicals, like last year, okay, in the other video I talked about the difference in the last 3 years. The last 3 years that I've really truly been paying attention. Last 3 years when I really came to know that there is truth to know, real truth that we can all know inside and live by. Again, I'm not trying to scare anyone off with those kinds of words, but I feel them deeply, and I just want to taking myself off all kinds of different ways. I apologize. Anyway, what's coming here? These chemicals that they're spraying, the difference in the winters. 3 years ago, it was a pretty normal, I guess. Like, I'm hesitant to use any of those terms like normal, But there was a lot more natural snow, put it that way, 3 years ago here in northern Michigan. Last winter, there was so much chemically created fake snow, and this stuff is different, but it was so much, it was ridiculous. It was not a natural winter whatsoever. The cold was so obviously and blatantly created with this chemical ice nucleation, like, and we're going to see this in a few days here because everything is worse, ramped up worse this year. The changes in the seasons, the changes in, or the increase in the spray, not just from planes, but from ground-based, everywhere smokestacks that put this stuff out in big ass, excuse my language, the generators that pump out all this stuff into the atmosphere, which is then propagated by the electromagnetic frequencies that any and all can see. That anyway, very shortly here we're going to get a lot more of that dangerous stuff dumped all over us because it's going to, all those chemicals and those compounds are going to be activated with the electromagnetic frequencies to activate this stuff that freezes above freezing point. It'll be well above freezing. Here in a few days, it'll be well above freezing when this stuff starts to come down frozen. In these frozen mixtures that are obviously unnatural. And you can tell because it leaves films everywhere. You can see the film being left by the spray now. And you could have been seeing this the whole time, but it'll get worse. This chemical gunk comes down and leaves a film almost like paint. The cold from it is intensely more cold than natural snow and ice because it causes an endothermic reaction. These molecules suck the heat outside of them. That's how it works. And it creates unnatural cold. This stuff is very, very slippery and slick on the roads. A lot different than normal ice and snow. A lot more persistent than normal ice and snow. Along with all the health hazards that go into that being everywhere in the environment, in the air, what we're breathing, what we're drinking, what we're consuming with the plant life that then takes in all these chemicals and all these things. As much of that is meant to defoliate this whole place, like is going on right now, like what happened last year here in northern Michigan, where you can see it's a very obvious defoliation going on. It's not a natural fall. It's not the season's leaves changing colors, the chlorophyll doing its less and less work in there and changing colors of the leaves because of that. No, they're changing because they're being covered with chemicals and then zapped by all these frequencies that are forcing these changes in the environment, forcing an unnatural perception of a natural process that is not happening as nature intended whatsoever. So be on the lookout for that. It's coming. And I can't help but think that all this flooding and all this creative flooding and all these different places and saturations are then only going to be part of what's coming this winter. I think the hammer is going to come down this winter, so to speak, because everything's exponentially worse, it seems, than it was last year in almost every way I can see. Everyone more divided. Groups within groups within groups that have created yet more groups to fight against and argue against each other off of all these different created beliefs and belief systems. Not from a place of knowing. Not from a place of feeling, definitely. And that's where I had gotten to when I got cut off on the other. I was talking about feeling and empathy in the heart. That's the place where when you can get back into, in yourself, in oneself, into that resonance, that energy. That's where you find that consciousness that doesn't need language. That's where you can find the consciousness that can look up, so to speak, at the thoughts going on under the dome. Those flashes, electrical impulses of light up there, and the heart can say, those are all words. Those are all beliefs. This is real feeling. This is feeling. This is life. This is what all life feels. And everything alive feels the same. We're just taught to look at it as different and treat it different and use it and abuse it because it has price tags affixed everywhere. And that's not right. The heart feels this and knows this. And we all know this. We were only taught to think otherwise. Which is why I got into the imbalance, of course, because it is an imbalance that I saw and felt within myself so deeply, that crushing feeling in myself of knowing how deeply I'd been deceived and how out of balance my consciousness was. Because my physical brain itself could not be imbalanced because it was filled with too many toxins. And I was consuming too much toxic information, programming constantly. And those negative, horrible thought loops and feelings and emotions that were created create loops, and they play out and play out and play out until it can be seen and felt. And when I felt that, and I realized just what a mess not only I was going through my entire life in this experience, thinking I knew things, and then only coming to find I was only regurgitating different beliefs and was only holding on to different taught beliefs about this, that, or the other, only because it was taught. For no other reason within inside me, with no discernment of truth of it within me, because I was trapped in the imbalance up here. Because the signals, the electromagnetic signals, because we're all electromagnetic at the base of things, it's magnetic dielectric, I feel, at the base, and that's the base of all these toroidal fields of energy. That from there, you build physicality on. The way we were taught, it was taught to, no, we're going to start teaching you at step 3 or 4 or 5, and we're going to make up a whole bunch of other stuff to keep you from looking back further than this, because this is the beginning. We're going to teach you about this, that, and the other, the existence of everything, even yourself and what you are. We're going to start from step wherever we feel like it, and we're going to make it up. If you can't find that base within yourself, that beginning point of energy, that spark, that's a spark of energy, arc energy, all this stuff, when sperm met egg, and that spark, like a lightning bolt you would see out there manifest. Pure energy from your mother and father, energy of the mother, father, your consciousness, yours, to go into that growing physical form that would experience a life experience here. Why? Because at the end is a death experience. So to me, it has to be the point here, to find that point within ourselves that started us, and to realize there will be an end to that point here. But to get that energy in resonance so strong with itself, that beginning energy that made us us, that is our heart, our empathy, our soul, our consciousness, our connection to everything and each other, to get that energy resonating as pure as possible with nature, with the Creator, with all other creation, in harmony. That can only happen when the beliefs of these words and languages that we're taught can be broken and realized that's all they are. And that the feeling of the heart and that resonance and that understanding and that knowing that all of the life feels that and empathetically connecting with that, you don't need the words to know. Things are horribly wrong, and they need to truly be considered quickly by all, quietly within themselves, peacefully and honestly. And admittance has to come within that, yes, indeed, all these things are happening, and that they should not be. I don't know where you go from talking about the weather. There's so much stuff, and there's so much bad coming, it seems. Everything's just been set up to get worse because folk can't realize what's happening. Every once in a while, I see videos pop up from Caltech that seem to have direct relationship with things that I see going on or happening or about to happen. It makes me think of right now, because there's so much to say, a recent video I saw pop up that talked about choice overload. Choice overload in the consciousness, to the point that the individual shuts down because there are just too many choices. There are too many things going on. There's too many things happening. So they shut down. You see? See how it's all just put right out there. In a video before that, not too long ago, it showed how these frequencies and these technologies would be used to combine with cells within the body, and then a frequency attached that could then propagate and then detach and destroy that cell it was attached to. And talked about targeting cancer cells at the end of this short clip, which I knew it's not targeting cancer cells, it's showing how this 5G weapon system works, how individual cell structures within life can be targeted and destroyed. Why do I say that? Because about a year ago when I was deep in interconnected unity consciousness, where I speak from now, but already there, but still looking everywhere at all these things. And I saw another video of theirs pop up talking about, how was it put? Has something to do with all the burning of forest fires, and then how liquid would propagate over areas to create landslide type of things, which I knew that's what was coming, because at the time there was a whole bunch of wildfires in the West, like there is this year, but even worse. But there was a bunch of wildfires, and then there was something about some kind of seemingly manufactured, at the time, I can't remember exactly what, storm moving that way. And when I saw that video pop up and I looked at it, I went, there's going to be landslides there. They're going to pass a whole bunch of moisture through this, create moisture on all this stuff that's been burned, and all this terrain and all this elevated terrain, and cause all these landslides. And it happened in like the next day. That's the thing. Once nothing is coincidence anymore, and you see how everything lines up everywhere, and you just see how all these stupid messages are communicated, because all these folks in their different groups being controlled by their different groups and these different secret societies here, there, and everywhere. It's how they pass these messages along, is they just let us, those of us, not me, but those of us that are still trapped in those indoctrinated beliefs, carry out our day-to-day activities that make these situations manifest. And we do it to ourselves unknowingly, and we do it to each other unknowingly. We that participate in certain actions for money that create these effects in the world. And the heart knows better. That's the thing, is pulling the mind, pulling the consciousness back into it. Okay, well, that snapped on me, obviously. Where was I? Doesn't matter. I was talking about something like getting through to my own parents, that consuming these things, all these toxins that make the body inside energetically just erratic to the point of insanity, especially the mind. Not especially. There is no especially. It's also interconnected, and all of the parts and organs are supposed to be resonating naturally with each other, in unison with each other for the body to function correctly, all the systems to support each other. Oh, and for that, please, 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 if nothing else, consider consider what I said in that video, A Path to Health, Mind, Body, Spirit, about my own making and infusing and use of cannabis oil. The internal consumption of the cannabis plant in that manner, in that way, was the fastest way I've come to realize to build my own endocannabinoid system to a point to where it could synergistically work with my immune system and push the toxicity out of my body. What I mean by that, I mean energetically in all manners. It helped me deal with the negative, the thoughts, the thought loops, the patterns, the feelings that weren't correctly aligned. All of the energy inside that wasn't resonating quite right, because I noticed why as different points in my body. Did that stop? Anyway, okay, different parts of my body had metals coming out of them. Metals were being pushed to the surface that I would take off and take pictures of. I'm not the only one. Others in my family as well, same thing. Those things were also in the brain, microscopically at whatever, however big particles were also in the brain because it's in the stuff we consume. You can look at others' work detailing this and how it works in the blood-brain barrier and electromagnetic frequencies make it permeable that can let the stuff seep in. When it seeps in, it interacts with not just only your own magnetic electric systems in there, but the electromagnetic systems of those radiating around you. Those are weapons, and those cause damage internally, and it can be healed from. So please consider that deeply, please. That along with diet, for me getting back to plant-based only, to me it came with so much understanding and understanding of life and energy itself, empathetically. I learned lessons. uh, I learned lessons from the heart. I gained knowledge from the heart and observing nature and light naturally that I could never have received from the mind, or from the minds of others, especially. Not in any of their words or books or any of their stuff. I could never have. And that's what so many try to get through. Those of us that know and see and feel that have gotten that from nature itself, and then in turn the creator of nature itself, and then being a part of all that and realizing all of us are, that's what we're trying to get through so hard to folk, that it's not as hard as you think. It's as soft as you are on the inside. And it's feeling that very real physical spiritual energy that's within you, where labels and words don't matter. It's an empathetic feeling and knowing of life and interconnectedness in oneself, and that realization that that is available in all others out there, whether they realize it or not. And the ones that haven't realized it or felt it yet are the ones that are being still controlled and steered to cause all of this harm that's still happening, and wars that are still happening. There's no good reason to fight these wars. There's no good reason to divide into these groups and then hate other groups. There is good reason to look at the groups that use and control and feed off of life and look at them and see them for what they are and then go, oh no, you have been taught wrong. Please feel and listen and accept these words so I can try and help you see what's happened to all of us because we're all the same. When the costumes are stripped away and the letters and the titles are gone, it's only us. It's only what you are. It's only what I am. It's only what each of us are here, but we're all doing it at the same time together. And it doesn't have to be at each other's expense or at the expense of any other, because the only expense to this life is a natural expenditure of energy to experience it while you're here. And to do that in a good way. To do that in a way that you don't have to pay for later inside yourself. So I don't mean paying from outside yourself. I don't mean paying from the judgment of others. I mean when you really judge yourself and you feel that, and you have to feel all your own mistakes, whether they were known at the time or not. They were still mistakes and actions taken. And they have to be felt and known so they aren't repeated. And then hopefully that those lessons of wisdom that come from the inside can then be passed on to others. So we're all in the same boat, you know? So I'll wrap it up. I'll leave it there. So thank you for listening. Please feel free to share anything I post wherever. I haven't been at this too long, but I have been trying. This whole trying to make positive change out there through this type of stuff. Facebook, Twitter, and this. So, all right. Thanks for listening. Yeah, maybe something a little bit more positive next time. All right. Thank you.